record this, and then I'm going to put this on Facebook. Take me a minute to set up. So from now, let's consider we're live from now on, because I keep like making this mistake of it actually goes on live even before I press the button, and so it ends up being embarrassing sometimes. Okay, so let's just say we're live. Starting now. Okay. Finding a title here. Okay. Okay. I think they want me to add a title. I think we're live. Yeah, so here we are. Live on Holistic Health for Men. Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Wendy. How are you?
I'm doing great. I had 40 grams of cacao from Guatemala, so I am a little buzzed. So, and after we do hypnosis, I'm going to be even more buzzed, which is fine. It's kind of a nice state to be in, right? Once in a while, not all the time. Yeah, so thanks for joining me this morning, Yaron. I know we're like 15 minutes from each other, but with lockdown, it feels like a world away, right?
Yeah.
So let me just briefly say how we meet it. It's kind of funny how we have the same haircut now, but yeah. So Yaron got stuck in Cebu this year. He was visiting to attend a salsa festival in Boracay, which we both ended up attending in the end, and so crazy how the universe works. And so you were supposed to just be kind of in and out for the festival, and it's been since January. It's already August.
Yeah,
Yara,
it's
this is
August
crazy.
now. I
Um,
can.
so yeah, so you're originally from New York and Israel, I guess, right?
I was born in Israel, but I lived the last 25 years in New York.
Right. And then you came to the Philippines from New York, or you were already in Asia?
I was already in Asia. I'm doing like a 2 years tour around, actually more than 2 years. I'm in the second year of traveling and expanding my spiritual experiences around the world. And part of it was stopping here for 2 months. Here we go, 6 months later.
Yeah, so can you please tell us, I think it's also interesting, not only your background in psychology, how you got into hypnotherapy, but also I think it's really interesting what your current function is here, which is also, would you want to share about that a bit? And
Sure,
maybe,
sure.
yeah,
So I was supposed to leave in around February 26th. I had a flight already, and I think my next stop was Taiwan, and I was on my way to Japan. And then by religion, I'm Jewish, and I stopped by the Chabad house here, who provides Jewish services. And the rabbi said to me, "Well, I have to leave to Israel. My wife is giving birth there. Can you just stay here for 2 weeks and just keep the house running?" And I said, "Sure." It's like, I will send someone right away, and some replacement will come. And I took on this responsibility of providing support and spiritual, especially kosher food and spiritual services for the Jewish community here. And then I found that COVID-19 kicks in and no one can fly. And then I had to decide, do I stick on to my commitment and continue being of service? The little possible, because, with the restrictions, there's not much we can do. But I made a choice to stay here and be of service. So it took a very interesting also turn for me, because I never planned on my trip to be uh,
Unbelievable.
in a position of an assistant rabbi for
Amazing.
4 months. So that's what I'm doing here. And today we have we mourn. Today is like a mourning day for us. We have our temple was destroyed in Jerusalem like 2,000 years ago. So it's a fast day, and you had your cacao, and I had my 3 hours prayer, just
Yeah.
sitting down and just
So we're
connecting to
both
God.
like,
Yeah, yeah. So what opened up for me is like this amazing experience where I get to sit in a house that is all about spirituality, and all there is for me is just to study and expand. And I mean, I had the most beautiful time, still is, um, studying and expanding and exploring new realm of spirituality inside of
wow.
my my religion, which
Yeah.
I ignored for so many years.
It blows my mind because like a lot of people I've been talking to kind of assume that everyone is going through anxiety and stress and like having this unbearable past few months. And I kind of want to say, well, not everyone is going through that. Like some people are, like you, what you just described, it's been a time of intense study and connecting to your, your spiritual path. And same for me. I've been stuck at home with myself, and either I like literally, kill myself, or I go deeper and befriend myself and get to know myself and transcend, the circumstance. So I love that you're also going through that. And I think there are actually, quite a few people who are. And that's also one of the reasons the space was created, is that, like I was telling you earlier, it's really, the purpose is to provide like a safe space or a cocoon for people to open up and share what they're going through, whether it's a struggle or an epiphany or just questioning. It's important that we have spaces for this, and there's so many spaces available for women, with women's circles and goddess circles, and also women, it's easier for them to connect and open up. So yeah, the purposes for this is to provide a similar area for men to do this process, or even just observe for those who are not ready yet. And one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you about trauma, first of all, I know you're very experienced. You're a spiritual leader at the moment. You have a background in psychology. Hypnotherapy is very powerful, very powerful healing tool. And also, surprisingly, during the last few conversations I've had a lot with a lot of guys, that I wanted to focus on stress and insomnia, as I thought that was coming up, and trauma kept coming up. Like I wouldn't bring it up, like these men would bring it up, and I was like, wow, okay, this is really interesting. And again, on Tuesday we had a talk with Matt, who's a nutritionist, and he even brought up the trauma of being bullied as a kid because he was overweight. So yeah, it's something not negligible. It's not only, sometimes we think of trauma as something, huge, like PTSD, from war veterans or whatever, but it can be as simple as being rejected by a girl when you're 12 because she says you're overweight, right? You're too fat. And then that imprints, and that says like, wow, I'm not good enough, right? And
Yeah,
so
and I want to add even sometimes as simple as a broken nail, because the a broken nail, because the world of trauma is so subjective, and the person gets to decide which part of his life are being categorized as trauma. So what would be considered as trauma for one person um, would totally will be like, I don't even see it as trauma. So sometimes you want to get some compassion about something you went through, and it's for you it seems like, oh my god, this is such a horrible experience and it's traumatic for me, and the other person cannot even be in a state of compassion because he doesn't even understand why is it a trauma, because for him that would never be a trauma. So it's really, so trauma is so subjective and so different for every individual. We might use some general terms for trauma where there might be some agreement, a societal agreement, that if you had this, this is a trauma. Like and then that lives in the societal agreement. But a lot of the traumas are totally subjective and personality and basically person related. That's my experience.
No, that's a really, really good point that we have to be careful not to judge, like, yeah, because everyone perceives it, experiences it differently. That's a really, really good point. Yeah, so can you tell us about how did you get into hypnotherapy? How did you get into psychology? Was it a result of personal trauma? Like, let's hear.
Oh, well, Wendy. So I didn't share that with
An
you.
hour.
I didn't share that. I didn't share. It's in an hour, but here what it took. It took a near-death experience.
Oh, wow.
It took a
Okay.
near-death experience, and that's like a story for a different hour.
I was
What
gonna
happened?
say that's a big trauma.
That's
That's
a
not
big
a
trauma.
nail.
When you have your appendicitis rupture, and you go to the hospital, and the hospital misdiagnose you, and they send you home, and you go to see a doctor, and he misdiagnosed you, and then you go see another doctor. All three of them misdiagnose you, and meanwhile you're already going into a death state, like your body is going into a really, really bad state. Like there's few hours left, and then at some point, I think what triggered the whole question was when I was in the hospitals on the second night because the pain was so bad, and I couldn't handle it, and I was sitting there, but I didn't know I was dying because three doctors told me I had something bad to eat. And I sit there and I think I hear two voices above me, two ladies talking in the ER. One of them said, I'm here for 4 hours and nobody's seen me yet. And the other one said, I'm here, you're lucky. I'm here for 6 hours and no one haven't even reached out to me. And for no reason, I have no clue why. So what showed up for me is a scream from my mouth, and the scream, and I have a very loud voice, and I scream, I see the devil! Like this. I don't even know where the scream came from because I did not scream. Like my brain, when he hears the scream, he starts saying, whoa, whoa, what are you doing? What devil do you see? Like, and we're looking upstairs now. We're trying, my body is trying to see if we see something. And I look at the ceiling and I'm like, I wish I would see some sort of figure or something. Otherwise, I'll be so stupid because by that moment, all the doctors running in to see what happened. And and I'm like, what am I going to tell them? But the voice continued talking to them, which wasn't me. And he says, the devil is here. He wants to take me. Can you please help me?
You said that to
My
the
voice. My voice, because my mind says we don't see anything. A different voice just came out that has nothing to do with my mind. And that scream saved my life because I had maybe 1 hour to 2 hours to live. So if I would have waited the 4 hours waiting period, most likely will be no Yarong existing. So that spiked a journey, why I stayed alive.
So what happened was your body was breaking down, and then so something took over and spoke those words, like,
Spoke those words,
yeah,
yes.
and those words saved your life.
Saved my life. And those are not my words. In other words, they never came from my brain because my brain would be like, why are you screaming something so stupid? We don't see anything. So then I started a journey to find out who screamed.
What was that?
Oh my God, who screamed? Like if I do not know that I screamed that scream, then who did? And that and thank God, my life was saved. On my chart, it says the lucky guy. They didn't have my name, and I would be like, for 3 days, I didn't even know I was lucky. And then they told me like, oh, you don't know what happened to you. Oh, you're the lucky guy. And and that took me into like 3 months of sadness, trying to figure out why I almost died and my children and all that stuff. But it also spiked after the 3 months. It spiked the journey into what really happened. And my ex-wife then said that, I took a hypnosis course. Why don't you go there and see if you can She was a nurse, and she did like a nursing program for hypnosis for pain. And she's like, "Oh my God, she's such a good teacher. Why don't you go try see and talk to her?" And I was like, "Okay." So I went and I met with her, and what I experienced was so new and so fascinating for me that I decided I want to stay longer. So I did her teacher training program, and I stayed, and I spent maybe 2 to 3 years just studying the world of.
Wow. So when was this? When did you have your near-death experience? Like how long ago?
12 years ago,
12 years ago.
12 to 14. I'm like, I don't.
And then you took the course. So this is in New York. You took the course.
I did the course in New York,
Yeah.
and when I finished the course, it was clear this is what I need to do. Like I spent my life studying psychology. I have a master's degree from Columbia University in New York. I spent so much money on just all this education, and few weekends course, and you sit there and you're like, you know, it's worth to me more than 6 years of studies.
Wow.
There's so much magic in this work that I was like, wow.
So are you, do you mean to say like all your studies in psychology, you threw that aside? I mean, like I love
literally, I can't throw it aside, but if you would have asked me, what do you value more as a tool for moving forward in life? Are you valuing more this course, which was so short, or the 6 years of studies? You know, I cannot take out 6 years of studies, but my experience was I got more from being present to this world, to the other voice, and that exists in all of us.
Yeah.
And that fascinates me, and that's something I wanted to do. And I wanted to share with you, and I spoke with you yesterday about what happened to me on the plane.
Yeah. I would
but
love.
then I'm wondering, because you want to know how I started and why did I think it was magical, and why did I choose to be in this field, was because, and I think this is more appropriate, and if we have time, we can talk about the other one, because I had my own trauma.
Yes.
Because as a child growing in Israel, we used to go study the Bible, and there used to be an old man who used to teach us. And so first I went to a different guy, but this guy was violent. So I ran away from him, and my dad says, "Okay, let's send you to a more mellow guy who will teach you without hitting you." So I went to this guy, but this guy would fall asleep while, that's why he was mellow. We will start studying, and he would fall asleep, which was cool. Sleeping, it's all good. No hitting, as long as nobody hit us.
This is a religion teacher you're talking about.
This is the religion teacher, yes, because we had such an old school system. We're talking about many years ago. But he had a little convenience store. This poor guy who had no shoes on his feet, he had a little convenience store. He would sell flour, sugar, bread, and maybe another 4 items. This was all his stores. And he had chewing gum. As children, as soon as he fall asleep, we will jump into the window of the store, grab as many chewing gum as we can. Some of us will chew while we study, and so as we were in our pocket. So that was what we did as children. I was 12, 13, not even 13. Fast forward, here I am at age 25. I wake up at night. I can't fall asleep. I can't fall asleep because I have nightmares that I stole those chewing gums from this guy.
Oh my God. There's that guilt.
I have nightmares. You're talking about not sleeping at night.
That's crazy.
And you sit there and like, come on, it's just a chewing gum. You know, why? It's not, what's the big deal? It's just a chewing gum. It's not even 50 cents. Like, who knows how much it costed then? And the nightmares don't go. Like, I can't fall asleep. And so what I did, I went on my first trip to Israel, I went to check on him. I said, I need to pay for this chewing gum.
For the chewing gum? Oh my God.
So I go, and he's dead. He's already passed away, the old man. So I'm like, what am I going to do? I see all his grandkids outside. And I'm like, everybody, chewing gum on me. And I take all the kids of the neighborhood and I buy them chewing gum, and thinking that will be the repayment. But it didn't. It didn't work, because the feeling of doing wrong to someone that have done nothing wrong to me, and stealing this little thing that he had nothing in his store, and it just didn't work. And I felt still. So then I went, the next time I came to Israel, still I bought gums to everybody in the neighborhood. Then I went to my brother and I said to my brother, listen, and I'm really dealing, it's not a big deal. It's actually embarrassing. Like, can I tell you, I took a chewing gum from a guy and it's haunting me. And he said, well, it's very simple. Let's get 10 people and go to his grave and pray.
Good.
And I'm like, oh my God, 10 people need to know that I took this chewing gum. I like this chewing gum, and I was like, I don't know, I think it's too much to disturb 10 people from their life, to send them with me to the cemetery. And I said, I'm not doing it. So I didn't do it. And then the nightmares never stopped. And it always was like here. Like if I would feel anything incomplete about my life, it's like, why did I do this? And
love it.
And I do one of the sessions I do in my training period. She opens a tunnel. And then she said, in the hypnosis session, she said, from this tunnel, 2 people will come out that you need to ask apology from them. And this is my beginning stages of my work. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But I open the tunnel opens up. I see the light. I see my mom from the distance. And I'm like, well, I know what I need. I'm sure I've done something wrong. I know what to apologize for. And then this old man runs and bypass her and stand in front of me. And he said to me, son, are you looking for me? And I was like, am I looking for you? Of course I'm looking for you. And he's like, how can I help you? And I start crying and I'm kissing his feet. And I said, please, forgive me for those chewing gums that I took from you. And he said, I forgive you. Is there anything else you need? I said, no, that's all I want. He says, good, then can I leave now? I said, sure. And then he runs back into the tunnel. And I did some work with my mom. What showed up for me, something that was so troubling, and I know the trivial part of it, because it's just chewing gum. But it was bothering me. It was so painful for me. I never knew even how to resolve it. And it was resolved that day.
Yeah, with the hypnosis, yeah.
With that session. And I said, if one can gift someone healing from something that he's dealing with, especially with people from the other world, in such a simple procedure, this is a gift I want to take and move forward to the world. And that's when I took on to, based on what I was gifted.
Experience,
and of course, then I start working on other things, but that was in the space so long. So that was like the initial, and I said, you know what? It is my mission to take this kind of work and create my own form. And that's when I created Soul Healing Journey Meditation. And that's what I'm doing now, taking this form around the world and trying to provide people what was gifted to me also through this process.
Wow, that's a beautiful story. I experienced your soul healing journeying, and it really reminded me of the shamanic journeying that I do. I think I don't know if you've experienced it through, I'm sure you have. We've had several plant ceremonies.
Several things with you.
And so it's really guiding a person into like a half awake state, probably maybe an alpha state, and then that's where the healing can happen, because the mind doesn't have a grip anymore on saying like, okay, this is real, this is not real, this is good, there's no more that physical world of duality and judgment, and that's where the powerful healing can occur. So I want to talk at some point about this book that really resonated with me, called Stealing Fire. and they talk about the flow state, and there's so many different ways to achieve it. So, you know, hypnosis, plant medicine, meditation, they're just so ketamine, whatever. There's so many different ways
Sure.
to achieve that same state where really is the point at which healing can occur, healing from trauma, from self-hate, from all these limiting beliefs that a lot of us have. I also wanted to mention that there's a saying in France, so where I grew up, and it's qui vole un œuf vole un bœuf, which means if you steal an egg, you steal a beef, a cow. So in the realm of energy, it's the same thing. And I think for those people who do also manifesting, like law of attraction, manifestation stuff, they always say, like, whether you attract, you know, $100 or $1 million, it's actually the same when you go to, you know, the realm of spirit and alternate conscious and conscious, you know, different consciousness. So it's really, really interesting. I would love for you to, you said you agreed to do a little guided session with us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we could.
Before we do it, just one more thing about trauma, because the only reason why we have, we have billions and billions of memory bytes that we have no access to, and they just flow into our brain. Some of them are trivial. We don't even pay attention to them.
You mean in the subconscious?
In the subconscious, because one can walk down the street and there's no, and he just absorb information and he categorized, because someone will ask you, well, what did you see on the street? And I was like, oh, I saw this, I saw that. So we store many, many bytes of information for no reason. And then there is areas where we are define them as traumatic. So the brain doesn't have traumatic area. The brain has a special chemicals that what it does is it covers those experiences and shift them from being trivial and in the flow of the billions that
chemical?
Huh?
What chemical? What's the name of the chemical?
I don't know what they use, but they use a chemical to cover it, so it will always be accessible to you and very fast. And it also, that chemical resonates the emotions in it, the pain and everything. So what happened is that when we go in a trance state and we access a traumatic state and we create healing around it, the brain at the same time, when the healing is real, when you're like complete with that and you're like, okay, thank you so much, it's no longer a painful event, and I release it, the brain gives an order to release the chemical compound. And that experience shifts from being, so to speak, traumatic into the realm of the billions of bytes that flows in your memory. So that's usually the element. So when we go into a trance state and we work there and we create healing in a trance state, the magic in it is that we are in a world that is real and not real at the same time. We are guided into a trance, which is the world of dreams.
Reality. I mean, for me, it's both reality.
But it's the world of dreams, so to speak. And then there's the world of, I hear Yaron's voice because it makes it real. So and in my belief, and I don't have science for it, my belief, the brain does not know what to do with guided meditation because it falls into it's real and it's not real at the same time.
The brain doesn't make a difference.
Huh?
The brain won't differentiate.
It doesn't know where to store it, in the left side and so, or the dream side. And then what it does, I think, the only way to deal with it is to store it in both areas, like double storage. And we don't care that it's stored in the imagination side. What we care that it goes also into the real side and say, well, we took care of it, release those chemicals. And when it does that, that person immediately gets relief, and there's no longer an experience of a traumatic event. It's just an experience of an event.
Yeah, neutral.
Less traumatic. That's just, I wanted to add that. I think it's important.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. Would you say that if we use the image of a computer, and then the trauma is registered, and then when we talk about healing, because that's all, you know, we also have to define what that is it like when we undergo the healing process, are we taking that traumatic data and then putting it in the trash can? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. In most cases, what we do is we will go into the area. So what you categorize at age 5 as traumatic, 10, 11, 12, 14, 16, 18, as traumatic, as you grow in life, your perspective of it changes.
Yeah, yeah,
But the storage system did
yeah.
not change how it stored it. So
Yes.
it's still stored as a really, really traumatic event. And who you are today, if something like this will happen to you, you will never categorize it as traumatic. You'll say, oh, I dealt with something. So sometimes it's as simple as going back to the event and bringing you, the mature, as a consultant to the child,
Rest. Assist
and
the child.
and giving them advice that,
Yes, I do that. Inner child
like,
care.
it's not as bad as you think it is.
Look, you turned out okay.
Look at this! I'm amazing. So this is one technique, and this is the technique we'll use today. So
Oh, awesome, awesome. So there's
we'll
so
use that
many.
technique to bring the mature you into the system, and we'll figure out how we're going to bring you in, to bring wisdom,
Yeah,
um, to,
guidance.
to the inner child,
Oh, I love inner child work.
and 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 soothe them and have them release the experience. And actually, maybe with the new knowledge that they know, they'll have a different way to manage this event so they can close it.
So, so the guys who are following on Facebook, they can just follow along with us, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, just make sure you have some, you know, quiet
Cool.
space.
Yeah.
Maybe put on some earphones, close the door,
Now,
and
how long do you want it to be?
I think
Because
we
now
can.
it's 11:30, so I need to know when to end it.
15 is 15
15
minutes okay?
minutes?
15
Awesome.
minutes? Is that too short?
Good, good. Oh, we'll do it very quick. So
15, 20 minutes, just to give them a taste. We're not like, again, we're not going deep into this work. We can go very, very deep. I think the sessions usually last an hour and a half, right?
usually it's a minimum 45 minutes,
5 minutes, yeah.
and then the sky's the limit after
Yeah.
that.
So we'll
Yeah.
just give them a teaser because there are other things I wanted to actually uh, ask you about. It's like, I think that some people maybe have ideas about hypnosis, that it's for, you know, it can be for mind control, and then people can use it and like make you do stuff. Like, is that true? Like maybe stuff from the movies we see. I mean, I know, like I have the answers, but I'd like for you to address that, just if people have concerns regarding hypnosis.
Yeah, I sometimes you see it on stage hypnosis when they hypnotize people to do
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly. So what's
here,
that about?
here is the rule. Here is the rule.
Can you make them like
If
someone kill someone? Like, great.
no, because you cannot suggest anything that will violate their moral system.
Okay, and that's like a
Because
code.
that will throw them into a shock and they will wake up.
Oh, okay.
Uh, hypnosis is not cannot even be done without an agreement for it to work, in my experience.
Right. So the person has to be willing to
Correct,
go with
correct.
the mind.
Because
Okay.
I could be doing work with 15 people in a room. Not everybody will go into a trance state. Some people will refuse to go,
Exactly. So
and
the
for
person.
whatever reason, there was I don't trust you, I don't like you, I'm not happy. Whatever reason they choose. Not everybody goes into a trance state, and
Yeah.
not everybody goes to the depth where I want them to be.
Yeah. So there's still free will. There's always a
They
free will.
have 100% free will, and they can all at any given time they can just snap out.
Snap out of it. Yeah, yeah. So I think that's important to know. Yeah, for those who've never experienced hypnotherapy, I love it, and I'm like in full trust. I don't think I've ever had, you know, like a bad experience or an experience where I haven't felt safe. So, so yeah, I hope that answers people's questions. And guys, feel free to ask questions. Like James and Matt are saying hi here. But if you have questions for after the session, maybe we'll have time to address them. But yeah, I'm ready.
You ready? Okay. So, so everybody, just we're gonna do a little, just a short relaxation period session. So I want you to close your eyes and take. We're gonna take a few deep breaths. So we'll take a total of 5. And I invite you to take the first deep breath, and slowly, as you let go of the air, start sending relaxation to your eyes, your forehead, your mouth. I invite you to take another deep breath. And as you let go of the air, continue sending relaxation to your neck, all the way until you reach your arms. And on the next deep breath, I invite you to let go of the air slowly and continue sending relaxation to your chest, all the way down to your stomach. And on the next deep breath, I invite you to let go of the air slowly and continue sending relaxation all the way down until you reach your toes. Feeling relaxed, I invite you to this short soul healing journeying session. And I invite you to find yourself somewhere outside. It could be in a balcony, it could be in a roof, it could be in a park. And the sun is shining, and it's a beautiful day. And I invite you to look at the sun and let the sun warm your body. And as your body starts to warm up, you are starting to levitate and rise up. And as you rise up, using the sun rays as tool to pull you up, in midair, I invite you to convert yourself into some sort of a flying element, like a bird or anything you like. And I invite you to start flying. And the first thing I want you to experience is the freedom of being a bird. And I invite you to fly all the way up and all the way down. Those of you who have speed, you can fly all the way to the clouds. And we are heading towards the ocean. So find yourself flying. Maybe you're flying above familiar scenery, and it doesn't matter. Just continue flying. And when you get to the ocean, I invite you to go deep into the ocean and fly above the water. You can fly high or low, however you choose is perfect. Some of you might see the dolphins. Some of you might see the sardines flying, not flying, but rather swimming in groups of millions. And some of you might see whales just playing in the water, and maybe even some boats. Keep flying deeper into the ocean. And at some point, you're reaching into a state where the ocean is clear and there's nothing but water. At this point, the ocean will become a big screen TV, and scenes from your past that requires healing will be playing on this big ocean TV. And I invite you to fly above it, and there might be more than one event playing, and that's okay. And I invite you to fly above and choose which event or which movie from your past you would like to work on today. And I invite you from above to start sinking into the event. And as you fly into the event, you're starting to shrink yourself. And you're welcome to choose any form that could be as small, so you can be in the event, but rather concealed. You could be a fly, you could be a beetle, you could be anything small. You're welcome to choose whatever works for you, or you can be the same bird, just miniature. And I invite you to go there and land on the younger you that is experiencing the event. And you're welcome to be either on a wall or to land on the shoulder behind. And you're welcome also to introduce yourself to the younger you, to the inner child. And stay with them while they're experiencing whatever event is going through, and provide them with words of wisdom and support. Provide them with tools to handle the same event they have dealt in the past. And I will give you a few minutes to sit there and work out whatever your inner child or the younger you is dealing. Make sure to give support, and also you have the power to intervene in a magical way if you choose so. If there is a possibility to ask for forgiveness and create forgiveness and healing, please do so. Usually in a group, I will ask if we need more time. But this time, I'm going to give you another minute. So take your time to resolve and close everything, knowing that soon we will need to depart and move. So I invite you to start the process of saying goodbye and giving assurances to the younger you that if there were any other events that you would like her to create healing and resolve, knowing what you know today, provide that wisdom to support them and also to generate healings in other areas in life that this wisdom, if it was known then when you were a child, would have made a lot of difference and would have never created this event as painful and traumatic. So feel free to let this new knowledge flow into all the events that are related to this kind of experiences. And I invite you to start the process of flying out and slowly flying up into the sky and becoming the birds you were before. Notice what kind of bird you are and if the bird is familiar or not, and it doesn't matter. If the bird is not familiar, pay attention to the details. You might want to search later on Google to find out the bird and what meaning it provides for you. And start flying back. And as you fly back, you're passing all the sardines and whales and dolphins and the boats. Enjoy the speed and the wind and the freedom of being a bird. And as we get closer, I invite you to land somewhere and convert yourself back to human. And hyper jump into your room where you started this journey. Now I'm going to count until 5. And when I finish counting, we will all open our eyes and be present in the room. 1, you're starting to being present to where you're sitting or lying. 2, you're starting to wiggle your arms and your legs and sending love energy in your body and noticing how it flows in your body. 3, you're starting to move your head from left to right. 4, you're taking a deep breath, and as you let go of the air, slowly you start to open your eyes as I say the number 5, and you're being present into the room. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful journey. Wow, that was surprising.
It's a short one, but
No, short but
sometimes it doesn't need to be an hour. It's just something quick.
yeah, I want to say that the more you go into these states of deep relaxation and what you're calling trance, the easier it is also to go into it.
Sure.
Yeah. So I want to say that just not to discourage some people who maybe have a little bit of a harder time letting go of the thinking mind, letting go of the analytic mind, and really like diving into the process. So yeah, I want to share my journey. So first of all, I was a seagull, and I hate seagulls because I think all they do is crap on people and make annoying noises. So it was funny that I was a seagull. When I do plant medicine shamanic journeys, I'm usually like an eagle or a condor when I take flight. So I was a seagull. And then I went to a scene, and I grew up in Paris. So I was during recess I studied in this beautiful school. My school was in a park in Parc Monceau in Paris, and then I saw this scene where I was around, I don't know, 9 or 10, and this guy that I really liked was kind of teasing me. But you know, when you're a kid, you don't know what's happening, and I just like broke down in tears, in front of everyone, and I was so embarrassed and so humiliated. I I don't think he was like bullying me or anything, but I think I just got really overwhelmed. And so I think I changed it into like, oh, he's bullying me, like something horrible, and I just can't even remember. And so I became a butterfly just to be like on the side, and I just needed like comforting that, hey, it's okay not to know what's happening. You're like a freaking kid. You don't need to be analyzing everything and knowing exactly what's happening. And so I just, was telling myself to look up at the magical place that I was, because it's a truly beautiful park with century-old chestnut trees, chestnut trees. And so, it's just like a beautiful, beautiful place. And I was like, you're so lucky, and you don't have to wallow in that suffering. It was just an overwhelming. When you're growing up, you have no idea what the fuck is happening, and so it was so beautiful. Yaron, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So
You're
lovely.
welcome.
So lovely. Yeah. And then,
The coolest thing, the coolest thing is when, in this kind of work, is when you get a seagull and you're like, I would have never chosen it. Like, if my mind would choose, it would be like some fancy bird. Um,
yeah.
and then that's the magic of the power of the other side, where they have the power to also manage some stuff. And so one wanted to look to see why the seagull wanted to present itself.
Yeah. I'm going to look it up. I
Yeah,
actually thought of that
what
book.
message she wanted to give me, yeah.
You know that book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull? Like, it's a hippie book, I think, from the 70s. Have you heard of that book?
No.
Yeah. So my mom's a hippie, and she used to read that book. And I'm like, so that was that's what I thought. I was like, you need to go back to that book and maybe
Okay,
find,
well, that will be interesting. Yeah.
yeah. Like I don't like, I hate pigeons. I cannot stand pigeons and seagulls. But yeah, thank you. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. So
Awesome.
let's look. So James is saying that he he cried and made him cry. It's like I love that. Yeah, thanks for participating. And so this works like online as well, huh? It's very powerful stuff, even if it's short like this. Yeah. So, Yaren, let's just, are you currently, coaching people online? Like, we'll share your website later, but is this something you're open to doing? I know you're busy with the Chabad House.
Yeah, I do the Chabad work, and I study a lot now. I always like to do physical things like, meeting with groups. That's what we did when I was here in the first 2 months in Cebu. Um, yeah, so I'm open to creating anything in Cebu while I'm here.
Okay, so
Uh,
but can people reach out to you directly? Is that okay?
sure, yeah. I'll be happy to
Your
support
website or
anybody. Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah. So I'll be happy to support anybody who has questions. Also, I have my podcast with some longer meditation. So
I
they
saw that. I saw you have a bunch of podcasts. So are those the soul journey? Is it a similar format or
so it's a similar format, but let's say, for example, as I travel the world, if I find a spot that I really like, so I
yeah.
will guide the meditation there. So what I will do is instead of flying somewhere unknown, I invite people to fly, for example, to Marrakesh
Okay.
and
And so
walk
you
around,
describe the
walk
scenery.
around with me, yes, and walk around with me in the street of the Medina there. So a lot of, yeah. So as we walk there, things happen. So instead of creating an island, so we go to Marrakesh to Jemma Al Fana. That's the beautiful square there
I
on
mean,
the.
this is perfect because right now, like international travel is so limited, right?
I
So
know.
I always joke that we have to travel,
In your
inside.
mind, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I record the voices and the music and the sounds on the street. So the experience, the background is there. So that's one thing I created. And then as I travel the world, it's not the same meditation all the time, though it's the same concept. Um, so in different, I've been to Zurich. I've done in Zurich one, and I put it down and I recorded it. And in Athens, I recorded one, and so it's just for me also documenting the energy of the country um, when you
I
go
saw
there.
that you
So
have one with in Kyoto,
in
which
Kyoto, I did one also. It was in a temple. Then I went also to a Shinto temple, and we had a meditation going to a Shinto
so I
meditation.
want to listen. I haven't had a chance yet, but I want to look at that. Kyoto is definitely on my bucket list because it's the birthplace of Reiki, which, as you know, is
I
my.
know, and I was on my way to Kyoto, and I got stuck here. So I always spend 2 months in Kyoto.
Oh gosh,
March and
I would
April
love to
in
go to
Kyoto.
Kyoto. Okay, great. So, yeah, so thanks again for this, and I really look forward to seeing you soon in real life, so we can do our other type of healing, which is embodiment
Uh,
practice with
oh,
Batana Kazamba, right? Which is also super healing. And yeah, I would love to invite some dance teachers also here in the group, which is growing. So I encourage everyone to
gosh,
check out
and
Yaron's
if I can give,
meditation.
if I can give heads up to all the male there, come learn how to dance.
Oh my God, guys,
Yes, have it part of your healing journey, however
it
you're
is
doing.
such a big part of my healing journey, and the way, yeah, I really admire the way guys. I know it's hard. It's hard for guys to, like be vulnerable in that way. So, but yeah, that's for another session. I'd love to talk about that, and we can talk about that as well. Yeah. Great. So,
Awesome.
thank you, Yaron. And thanks everyone for joining us. And yeah, please share this on YouTube, on Facebook, for those of you who think would benefit. Um, there's so many tools available to us for healing our trauma, and just starting to look at this is already beautiful. And yeah, wishing you a lovely day. Talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for hosting me.
Bye, Yaron.
Bye.
Take care.